Hey everybody, welcome to Local Business Hacks Podcast. I'm your host, Carl Case, and I'm on a mission to help you. Every week, we're going to be talking to local business owners and experts to get their best tips, tricks, and hacks to grow your business. This show is designed to teach you, inspire you, and motivate you to take massive action and start to build your future-proof business. Whether you're just starting off or you're taking your existing business to the next level, this episode is for you. So let's get started. Hey, local business hackers. I'm your host, Director of Global Business Development for Referrizer and host of Local Business Hacks Podcast, Carl Case, joined today by the founder and president of StretchMed, Brian Cook. Brian, welcome to Local Business Hacks.
Hey, Carl, good to be here.
So thanks for coming. Obviously, you don't become the founder and president of an emerging stretch brand overnight. Talk to me about you and this journey that's got you and the brand to this point.
Yeah. Hey, Carl. So my journey. So this is my 28th year, and StretchMed is my fourth company. So I kind of been at this entrepreneurial thing for quite a long time. Super excited to get into the stretching space early, but not too early. So we get to learn from a couple other companies that are out there and massively improve upon the model. So long history, got into personal training at the age of 20. And at the time of this recording, I'm about to turn 52. So found my passion early, which is definitely fitness, all things franchise development and opening boutique fitness concepts. So yeah, just fast forward, we've opened almost 200 locations across multiple brands, and have kind of spent the last 3 years tweaking the StretchMed model. We've got it to about 23 locations, and we're just starting to expand nationally. So we're ready to roll this thing out.
Amazing. Well, congrats to you on this journey. Obviously, being a pioneer in this space and now being on your fourth brand, I'm excited to see where StretchMed goes. So talk to me a little bit about how can people get involved with StretchMed from a consumer, from a franchisee perspective.
Yeah, so I think visit our website, stretchmedstudios.com. And from that website, you'll be able to see what locations we have. You can try out a stretch for $59 if you want to go in and check out a stretch, which is really cool. And if you're interested in franchise opportunities, there's a franchise info section that'll get you to Margie and myself, and we'll take you through a discovery day, talk to you all about the model and what makes it so great.
Amazing. Brian, before we jump into the purpose behind the podcast of Local Business Hacks, I got a question for you. Because you've been in this space for so long, if you could go back 28 years and talk to yourself as 20-year-old Brian Cook, what advice would you give little Brian?
Yeah, that's a great question. Boy, wish I could do that. So, two books that I really love, and they're part of my morning routine for many months now, just so I don't forget them. And it's the book, The One Thing by Gary Keller. And, the premise of the book is if you could do one thing and that one thing would solve everything, what would it be? And in the franchise space, it's selling franchises. And then another really amazing book from Dan Sullivan is called Who Not How. And when you want to do something, the first thought should be who's going to do it, as opposed to how am I going to do it. So, and then I think thirdly, the clarity that wealth creation is the direct correlation of your ability to develop people. So early on, start to develop people and get out of the way. Don't try to do everything yourself. And I spent years working 100 hours a week, just grinding away and trying to do everything myself. And if I could kind of get that time back. So now at 52, I'm just massively focused on the people development business and developing SOPs and systems and just the analytics of the business, as opposed to getting, stay out of the weeds. Don't get in the weeds, because once you get in, you won't get out.
I love that. My last question to you is, how would your parents describe you?
Yeah, I'm definitely an outlier in my family, no question. I think they describe me as a risk taker, always something going on. I started my first business when I was 12 years old. I had My dad bought me 25 lobster traps. I was selling lobsters to my neighbors, and then landscaping business, construction businesses, it just never ended. So they're kind of like, oh, what's he up to next? So, creating StretchMed really helped me tap into my passion for new venture creation. And what I love is, building something from scratch, bringing an awesome team together. We have a phenomenal team that support me in this process, and we're super excited to scale.
That's awesome. And you talked early on about not being ultimately the first pioneer in this space, but I only know of 2 other brands that are attempting to do what StretchMed's doing. So in the boutique fitness space, I would say you're still a pioneer and shaping this category into what will be the best recovery tool that people need. So it's awesome.
Yeah, and really going back, I first heard of the concept in 2015 when a family friend asked me out for coffee. He knew I was in the fitness space for quite a long time. I said, geez, I never heard of it. And he heard of it out of California, asked me my advice. I said, well, if you pick a good territory, you almost can't go wrong with anything like that. So he was a family friend, so I didn't know him personally. So we hadn't really talked again. And then saw Stretch Lab taking off, saw Stretch Zone taking off, and kind of brought me back to that 2015 conversation. I was like, oh, wait a second. I started stretching my one-on-one clients back in 1992 while I was going to college. I used to stretch one of the partners of the Red Sox for 30 minutes and train him for 30 minutes, but never did I think it would become its own thing. So fortunately, weren't too late and took my daughter. We flew around the country. We went to all of the stretching concepts. I mean, we really spent 9 months developing the stretch routine, started from the product and built just an amazing stretch. And then, engineered the model. And I think the best way to talk about StretchMed is we've just a much leaner version of what exists, 4-table model, 2 to 4 employees to run, 8 to 1,200 square feet, 76,000 to 172,000 to open. So a decent range. And we've got average, the current item 19 average monthly profit of 7,200. So decent ROI, and all our owners are passive or semi-passive. So they've got managers running the studios. But yeah, looking forward, we're confident we can kind of catch the other couple players in the space within the next couple of years based on the traction we have right now.
It's amazing. Getting to that point of opening your first studio and then now getting closer to 30, it's quite the leap when you get to that point. So congrats again. Brian, shifting gears, the purpose of this podcast is local business hacks. So I'm going to give you an opportunity to share a couple of your business hacks. Keep in mind that a majority of our listeners are in the health, wellness, and beauty space, whether they be franchisees or franchisors. So tell us some of your hacks.
So great question. I'm trying to narrow them down. Definitely a bunch of them, but one of my top ones would be the fact that everything's remote now. So our whole corporate team is all remote. So we're in Puerto Rico, we're in Boston, we're in Canada, we're in the Philippines, and we're in Colombia, Venezuela, et cetera. A bunch of virtual assistants all over the place. So we're using Zoom like a virtual office, where before working remote was kind of tricky. Let's jump on a Zoom call, a lot of friction every time we have to log in, and takes a couple minutes to get going, and you don't feel that sense of connection. So what we did is I was attending some workshops where these breakout rooms on Zoom were working fantastic. I'm like, wow, this is awesome. Let's try this on a daily basis inside the corporate office. So now every morning, I think we have 12 people on the team right now. There's a daily huddle, 8:05 a.m. Everyone gets together. We talk about good news, stocks, what are the crucials for the day. After that 15-minute huddle, everyone goes into an office and it's cameras on, plugged in, 8 to 5, lunch break. So then as I look around the Zoom rooms, I can like jump in someone's office. I can transport 2-3 people to my office and have a huddle. So the collaboration is amazing. The sense of community is amazing. And the team absolutely loved it. So I feel like my guy in Canada, who is literally, we just work together all day. So we super enhanced Zoom. And then I think just the second part of the Zoom breakout rooms, which is fantastic, would be hiring virtual assistants in the Philippines. That's been a game changer. We used to hire part-time Filipinos, but you don't get the focus. So this is a full-time position, 8 to 5 Eastern time, $250 to $350 an hour. If you pay $5 an hour, we have licensed architects for $1,000 a month, full IT teams. So we're really graphic design, you name it. We're having tremendous success developing teams in the Philippines. And you guys interested, go to online jobs. I think it's onlinejobs.ph, post the job, cheap money, interview, run some group interviews so you can cut your time down. And then just the one that's got the best English, you can pre-qualify them with internet connections and things like that. And for us, it's just this extreme fiscal discipline in the early stages to making sure our margins are tight. And then the third piece to fiscal discipline I hate with Carl is I'm in Puerto Rico 6 months a year, in Boston 6 months a year, because in Puerto Rico, only a 4% tax, no federal tax. So that huge saving I have on taxes is going to allow me to plow a lot of money back into the company and accelerate our growth. So there's 3 for you.
That's amazing. Thank you, Brian. So I'm going to go back to some of my corny questions because I think you're an interesting guy and you're willing to share. So I'm going to see what I can extract out of you. So 2 of them that come to mind, if you could be remembered for one thing, whether that's from starting your first franchise to where you are today, what would be that thing that you'd be remembered for?
I think that's a good question. Wow. So I think simplifying the franchise development process, I think would be one thing. And there's a future company I'm going to start, and it's going to be to help entrepreneurs franchise what they do. Because that's really all I'm doing is I find a passion, I build a little widget, which is a model, bring a team around me, and then we scale it via franchising. So I learned as my passion is just the creation of that business. So I guess it would be to simplify the franchise creation and scaling process so that it reaches the masses, the people that have no money, like I had no money when I started, as opposed to just the big corporate entities of the world that have money to burn for days. I want to bring franchising to the masses, people that literally have 1 or 2 or 3 locations and 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 grand to their name. That's it. And let's roll up our sleeves and let's franchise this thing.
Love that. Brian, obviously you're a mover and a shaker. You're 52. You look great for your age. What's your morning routine looking like?
Yeah, great. That's one of my hacks actually on my list. So I think that's critical. I get up at 5 a.m. I don't plug in with my team until 9 a.m. So I literally spend 4 hours. The first 2 hours is really all the visionary work. Because if you don't stay really clear on your vision, you're gonna fall apart. You're gonna get right in the weeds. So just constantly get up before everyone else in your life gets up. Take that time to unwind. Take that time to look at your vision, articulate what you're going to do for the day. And then that way you approach the day with intention as opposed to approach the day in a reactive state. So killer morning routine, like I walk my dog for an hour. In Puerto Rico, I'll walk to the beach, I'll walk to the ocean and back, and that's kind of cool. I listen to a podcast while I'm walking the dog, so that's a great way to crank out some good information. And I do workouts at night, so I'll work out at 6 p.m. But yeah, good 2 to 3 hours in the morning, and then walk the dog for an hour, then get ready, and then just be ready to roll at 9 a.m.
Awesome. Not that you asked, but my personal favorite way to start the morning is Tony Robbins' priming video. If you haven't tried it, I recommend it. It's about 15 minutes long, and it definitely.
He's awesome. Yeah, I love Tony Robbins. He's such a force. He's awesome, and I love G Suite. I love Google Calendar. I've really gotten super organized with tasks and calendars and integrations, just making sure I'm systematic. And another cool thing I'll tell you, Carl, I think everyone should do because it's going to help you understand how you're wired. There's a profiling software called the Colby A Index, and everyone has 4 numbers, and they're basically fact finder, fall through, quick start, and implementer. And you're either 1 through 10. And I'm a 7. 4-6-3. So I'm a 7 fact finder. So I initiate, need a lot of detail. Fall through though, I'm only at 4. And that's basically approaching your work systematically. I'll do 10 things at once. So if your second number is high, you have to approach your day strategically. You do it all the time. Third number is quick start. That's your ability to take risk, your ability to try things that aren't proven. And the fourth number, implementer, that's working with your hands essentially. So when you get your own Colby, get everyone on your team's Colby, you can start to understand why people operate the way they do. Incredibly helpful. I learned that from Dan Sullivan at Strategic Coach. And again, anyone looking for incredible coaching, strategiccoach.com. He's been coaching entrepreneurs for over 40 years, and it's pretty amazing.
That's awesome. Thank you for that, Brian. So my last question before we wrap up is going to be, tell me the 3 most influential people in your life currently and how have they impacted you?
So yeah, Dan Sullivan, definitely the most influential as of right now. This guy is the founder of Strategic Coach. He's been coaching entrepreneurs for over 40 years. He's 78 years old, smartest guy on the panel, really helping us. His whole purpose is to help entrepreneurs find their unique ability and only do that one thing all day and every day. And if you're only doing unique ability work, you've retired. And then you build a team around you with supporting unique abilities to do all the stuff you don't want to do. So absolutely, the guy has really kept my vision strong and alive the last probably almost a decade. I'd say almost a decade I've been working with him. So I'd say he's a big one. You know, Tony Robbins, I love. I actually watched some stuff on Tony Robbins. I think he's just such a powerful guy, and his interest in helping people. Watched a documentary on him. I forget what it was called, but it was super amazing. So I really love him on the human interest side and helping people with mental health problems and struggling with some personal things. That was really cool.
Dan Sullivan can take your top 3 if he's that important.
Yeah, I think what it is because he's in a position I want to be in. And it's like, I want to be him when I grow up. So it's kind of like, I think he's just most influential. And there's a bunch of people that I love, but I think he's probably the biggest one for me.
That's awesome. Brian, I want to thank you from our listeners all over the globe and everybody that's following StretchMed. We're beyond excited to see where you take this brand and your next venture as you get your feet wet into more franchising opportunities.
Talk to you again.
Thanks, Brian.
Take care.
Thank you so much. That's it for this week's episode. I hope you found it helpful. Be sure to head over to our site, local-business-hacks.com, to check out the show notes and send me questions or ideas for future episodes. If you want to grow your business, just like the people you've heard from here, follow Local Business Hacks Podcast and tune in for new tips, tricks, and tactics. Until next time, thanks for listening and keep hacking.